my story show. Remember, I normally say everyone has a story behind his life. It all depends on the fate that you find yourself in. And today we are privileged to have a man of God, a servant of the Lord, who will be sharing his story with us. If you need to talk to us, please talk to us on 0114 13 1600. 0114 131600. Talk to us on our social media platforms. That is Riverside TV Kenya. That is Instagram and Facebook. Email is riversidetvke@gmail.com. Let me introduce our guests. Welcome to Mission.
Thank you so much.
Yes, can you tell us your names?
My name is Pastor Chris Okwero.
Mm-hmm.
I'm born again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Busia County.
Yes.
But currently I'm ministering in Eldoret under the Ministry of Calvary, Kenya, under Bishop Samuel Weche. Yes.
Wonderful. You said you were born in Busia.
Yes.
Busia County.
Yes.
Yes. Chris, tell us more about your childhood. Where did you go to school?
I went to school in several schools. I started my schooling. My first schooling, I schooled in Kericho, in a school called Kitumbe. Thereafter, because those are in tea estates, and then also I had to move to Uganda. That is now from P2 to P6 during those years. That one was from 1986 to 1991. And then when I came back to Kenya in 1991 December, the year 1992, I joined another school in Kenya again, called Sausa Primary School, where I schooled up to the end of my primary education. I did my KCP. Yes.
Tell us, what necessitated all this movement from Kericho, Uganda, Kenya?
First in Kericho, the movement from Kericho from one school to another, this one was based on my family background, which was a very poor background. And also in Uganda, because we come just across the border, my dad had a piece of land there, so I had to move and stay there for at least 5 years. That's why I had to be there from 1986 to 1991. Yes.
When you say poor background, Chris, what do you mean?
When I mean poor background, you know, during those days, somebody who was working in a tea estate, a tea plucker, was taken as somebody who was from a very low background, because not very many people decide that job, working in the tea plantations, being rained on with all sorts of hardships. That's why I say it was not a good background, it was a poor background.
Did you have any challenges in school life?
Yeah, basically I had a very terrible challenge. I remember it's so sad because sometimes my dad had to take a second wife who had to go and stay with us in Uganda. And during those times, you could only afford to have one shirt per year. And going to school was not so easy because schools were not near like the same way they are nowadays. You could find a school over 20 kilometers away, and you have to trek very early in the morning barefoot. Mark you, because of the environment. We were breeding place for lice. I know nowadays young men don't know lice. Yeah, they were all over the head, in the hair, and also the clothes. So we were just using that small candle, metal candle, during night. You start killing using those using that candle, and then sometimes in bed, infested with bed bugs, and as young men, young children, also when you could not, because you could not afford mattresses, what used to happen was that in the estates when grass was cut in those estates, you could collect those grass, you dry them, and then you put in a sack. That one was the mattress. And mark you when you urinate, because that was normal with young children. The flies and some flies could lay some eggs there, and definitely you could one maggots would definitely breed
in there.
Yeah.
Chris, tell me, how many are you in your family?
In our family, we could have been 8, but currently we are 7 because our firstborn went to be with the Lord. So we remained 7. Those are 4 boys and 3 girls.
You mentioned about your dad taking a second wife.
Yeah.
That the second wife is not your mom.
Yes.
You belong to the first wife.
Yes.
Who is your mom?
Definitely. During that time, you know, now it reached a time when a disagreement could occur.
Exactly.
Men, because they had land was available, so because of the reactions, a man decides to go far away and looks for another alternative. That is how we ended up having another mama, but unfortunately she also went to be with the Lord. Yeah.
Oh, the second wife.
Yeah, so right now we are with our maternal
Mother.
Yeah.
Wow. Chris, tell us about your high school.
High school life was really very terrible. Also, bearing in mind the estate life, your parents working in the tea plantation. Joining a secondary school, because I remember sometimes I failed to join my secondary school even after having passed, because there was no money to take me to the secondary school. So I had again to rewind. That was 1994 when I sat for my first KCPE exam. I got around 425 marks out of 700, but I could not make it to go to secondary school because of school fees. So my parents had to request me to go back again to class 8, that is, to give them time to prepare so that they can at least get something to enable them to pay for my school fees. And then when I sat for my second KCPE exams, that is 1995, I again passed, and then that is when doors opened for me to join secondary school. But all in all, it was also not a bed of roses. It was bumpy because my parents had to borrow a loan. They used to call it the gechai.
The gechai.
Yeah. So they had to go there, and once you borrow that loan, you could take 4 years to repay. Now, mark you have borrowed a loan to take your child to school. How you are going to repay it monthly for 4 years? How this child will be finishing the school.
Oh, wow.
So it was really terrible. Sometimes I could be chased away from school and take like 3 weeks without going to school. But all in all, the grace was sufficient. I managed to finish.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. After school, Chris, where did you go?
After schooling, that was in 1999, because I had a lot of things in my head, because I thought that was my time now, at least to have my freedom, to visit some of my relatives who were very far. But unfortunately, when I finished after carrying my metal box, when I reached the estate home, I slept, hoping that I'm now going to rest, but my dad told me tomorrow wake up very early in the morning. I was taken for a manual job working as a casual laborer. That is how life started. I worked for around a year before being confirmed, and mark you, I had no ID. It was just lucky that during those days there was nothing like child labor. So, and fortunately enough, when I received my ID is when we were being confirmed as permanent workers.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So that was, which sector were you working?
So I was working in a flower company. That's where my life started. And then during all that process, starting as a general worker, casual laborer, working, slashing around the farm, doing several works, carrying posts, treating those posts for making greenhouses. It was really terrible. But God led me throughout all this. When I received my confirmation for permanent job, another friend of mine told me, oh, young man, you are still young, you can go back to school. Yeah. So when I was confirmed for permanent, I had to start saving now in that cooperative called the Gechai. I saved for 1 full year. And then after I had saved enough, I had to take a loan and I had to enroll for my college education, where I enrolled for business economics and commerce. That is what I did. And it was a diploma course, yeah, which I did for 1 year.
Yes.
I managed to get my merit.
Wonderful. Yeah. After the college?
Yeah, and Makio, it was part-time because I was working and at the same time studying. So I could carry my books, working with them. When I get time, I hide myself. I don't go for lunch. I hide myself in a certain room. I study. That's how it was.
And that was good. That was good.
Yeah.
Now, after college,
yes,
where did you?
So because I was still working in the same farm, the same company. So one day I approached my manager because I had now started moving. Because I was aggressive, being just from having just come from a secondary school, starting a general work as a casual laborer. I was identified as a hard-working young man, and then I was given some opportunities to start recording production. From there, one day, my manager told me that this work of yours, because I was doing a manual work, I had a graph book, trying to plot a graph, a chart on how production is. And then my manager told me, now this work, you need to be doing it in a computer. And I had no computer knowledge. So I went back to him and I told him, what can I do? He told me, I requested, but I have seen another computer here. Will it be possible that I will be going and do some practice? He said yes. But one day when I tried to go and use that computer, his assistant manager told me, please, young man, never attempt to touch my computer. I was frustrated. So I feared to go and tell my boss that his assistant has told me not to touch it. I went back and said, now, let me do this. Let me be coming very early in the morning. I do whatever I can do. And then at around 11, I rush for computer classes.
That's good.
And mark you, I had to go for 4 months. And by then, even learning a computer package was very expensive. Just a single package was going for 2,500. Mark you, that is a single package, which could finish, could enable you complete a full several packages. And then, you see how God works wonders. The same day I finished, when I had just done my exam,
yes,
I met with another manager. He asked me, where are you going? I told him I'm going for classes. Who gave you permission? And Makwe had already finished. So he went to confirm, and there was no case.
That is good.
Yeah.
That is
and
very
then
good.
From there, just as I concluded on that part, I had to move from there, from a general worker in that company to a managerial position.
Wow.
Where I worked for 19 years. And by the time I was, the company closed. I'm sorry, I'm just sorry that the company closed in 2019. Had worked there for 19 years, and I had moved just from scratch to something. And now by then, I was working as a head of a technical department, head of quality. Yeah, in that company.
Oh, that is good. From down there, let's say from grass to grace.
Yes.
That is good. Now, Chris, tell us about family. You have a wife?
I'm married, and My wife is Christine. I'm Chris. My wife is Christine.
That's
how God
they
joined
rhyme.
us.
Your name's rhyme.
Yeah. And I'm blessed with one daughter.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Now that you are a pastor.
Yes.
Pastor Chris. Is your wife also a pastor?
My wife is very fortunate that she's a Sunday school teacher. And then that's how also it's how we started the ministry. We started with young children. And Matthew, you see God move somebody from grace to grace. And with all faithfulness and patience, after we got married, that was in 2007, it was on 5th of May, it was on 13th of May, I still remember, it was on a Sunday, it was not a walk in the path, it was a real, there was a very big friction, but God led us through, we did our wedding, and then Matthew, after the wedding, we stayed for 10 good years without a child. Wow. And we are pastors, we are ministering to people's children.
And you don't have one?
We don't have one.
Yes.
I dedicate children and I don't have one. You can imagine the mockery.
And the pain.
And the pain
yes.
we were going through.
Pastor Chris, you said about there was some friction during the preparations for the marriage. Yeah. What happened exactly?
You know what normally happens with these people from this Western culture? This only happens when somebody is doing a wedding. But when somebody takes somebody's daughter without following procedures, nothing happens.
Yes.
So there were some customs, some traditions that they wanted us to go through. But as a Christian, because I was saved while I was still young, at the age of around 13 years. And that is when I also started the ministry when I was 13 years as a Sunday school teacher. And then God joined us, gave me a Sunday school teacher also. And now I'm a pastor.
That is good. Yeah. Wonderful. Viewers, we are taking a short break, and when we come back, our brother Pastor Chris will be sharing with us more about ministry, because he says he's a pastor and a Calvary ministry. So he'll be telling us more about his life in ministry. Please don't go away. Don't touch that button, because there's more awaiting us ahead of this. Stay tuned. Everyone has a story behind his life. Some edit rough, others edit smooth. It all depends on the fate that you find yourself in. Join me, Samson Boit, on my story show every Monday, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. on Riverside TV. Welcome back, viewers. Remember, before we went for a short break, Pastor Chris was sharing his story about marriage. Remember, if you need to talk to us, touch our social media platforms. That is Riverside TV Kenya on Instagram and Facebook. Email us on riversidetvk@gmail.com. You can call us on 0114-131600. I repeat, 0114-131600. Karibu tena, Pastor Chris.
Asante.
Now, huduma. When did you think of going into ministry?
Going into ministry first, thank you so much, Brother Samson. Going into the ministry was not a walk in the path, as I always say, because I was brought up in a Christian family, and I cannot say that somebody prayed for me, maybe in a crusade, or I was convicted by the Spirit of God. So, like Paul, because nobody preached to me, nobody guided me to salvation, but I desired to walk a God-fearing life.
Uliamuka tu siku moja ukasema hata niokoke?
Just from going to Sunday school, because I saw young children going to Sunday school, and I desired following them. And then from there, God directed me. I decided that urge of walking a Christian life. Yeah.
So how, when you got into ministry, you are a pastor. Which church?
Currently, I'm under Bishop Samuel Weche, that is Calvary, Kenya, which is based in Eldoret. Yeah.
Which department do you serve in?
I am the national coordinator, coordinating all ministerial work, and Bishop Samuel Weche in Eldoret. Yeah.
Do you have any branches in Nairobi?
Currently, we don't have branches in Nairobi, but we have branches in other parts of the country. Like we have branches in Isiolo, we have a branch in Nanyuki, we have a branch in Rumoroti, Sipili, Busia. We have a branch in Londiani, Njoro, yeah, and all over we are spread, but soon Nairobi.
Pastor Chris, tell me, how do you manage to balance family and ministry?
Thank you so much for that question. As I said, I was blessed with a Christian wife, and before I found her, before we married, my desire was to get somebody, to have somebody in my life who would stand with my vision. And exactly that is what God did to me. Because he gave me somebody understanding, that was my prayer, somebody God-fearing, that was an answered prayer. And even when I go out for a mission, even if it is 1 month, I will not be questioned, I will be given support, and she will pray for me. That's why I love my wife. Yeah.
Ah, wow, that is very good. You know, there are pastors. Okay, you are married, but you find that your wife is not saved, or she's not in the ministry with you, and in most cases, those families end up in problems.
Yes.
So can you talk to these young men who are about to get married, because most of them, when they come into, when they venture into ministry, they think it is a walk in the park. Kindly, can you talk to them and advise them how these things are?
Thank you so much, Brother Samson. Number one, to the youths, salvation is not a part in it's not a walk in the park. A walk in, what you need to do, first of all, you need to be prayerful. Always give God your desires. And always know that God has good plans for each and every one. Your plans, the plans God has for you, are not the plans God has for me. We all have different plans according to the purpose of God. He has given us different plans. So we should not compare ourselves. Sometimes, as a youth, you may desire to venture into a ministry. A ministry is not a business. Sometimes I have been hearing people say that when you go into a ministry, you'll get money. Don't cheat yourself. You need to work, because I have also been working, and I continue working. I continue looking for employment and also business opportunities. So don't be confused. Trust in God. Always let the will of God be done, and be yourself. Don't try to be like anybody. Be yourself, and always seek the guidance of God.
Pastor Chris, thank you very much. Now tell me, let me take you back. I want to tell us one incident that you found yourself in before you got saved. Ile ilikuchanga mpaka ukasikia hapa nimekosea Mungu kabisa.
I can say salvation is not all smooth. Sometimes you may rise up, you may be at your peaks, sometimes you are low. Sometimes you are tempted, sometimes you go through several challenges, but you just need to trust upon God. In my life, I can say that during the 10-year period in a marriage, newly married for 10 years, you don't have a child, you are in salvation. People are mocking you, even servants of God, asking which God are you serving? Imagine that pain you are going through as a servant. You look like giving up, but always continue. You need to continue pressing on. You go in the house, even if you are in bed with your wife, nothing will happen, because You get in bed, you get your wife crying. You start asking God, what did I do? But we always encouraged one another that God is faithful. God is faithful. It is God who gives. It's God who provides. So to those people, those young men, sometimes you get somebody who's just married for 1 year and is complaining that he has no child. He wants to break the marriage. He wants to disengage, to disconnect the marriage. Don't give up. Be faithful. Continue trusting upon God. That was the scenario, the situation that I was going through. You could desire to live, but no. Remember that God is up. It is Him who gives. And what encouraged me in the process, I always remember the word of God about those people who went through such situations. I remember Anne. Anne was given Samuel. I remember that Abraham was given Jacob. And then I was encouraged. I said I was not greater than Abraham, our father of faith. I was not greater than Anne, the mother of Samuel. And God really gave us the grace.
Did you seek medical attention, or what did you do?
We sought medical attention, and everything was okay. It was not that we were sick. Everything was tested. My everything was tested. My wife was tested for the scanning was done. Everything.
So let me tell us how was the reaction of your parents during this period when you were not able to get a child?
It was really terrible, because that is when, you know, a loving parent will always love you, will not rebuke you, will not mock you openly, but you always hear from outside. So I appreciate that they didn't confront us one-on-one. Although it was going around, somebody will say, you just came to fill the toilet. That is what they say in Western. This girl just came to fill the toilet here. But we trusted upon God. I told my wife, I'm the one who married you.
Yes.
And I will stand by your side. In every situation, we shall be together. Yeah.
It must have been terrible for her. But we thank God, eventually you emerged a winner. Please, Pastor Chris, thank you so much for the story. I would like you to appreciate your wife, face this camera, and appreciate your wife for standing with you, even in that dark period of your married life. Please, talk to her.
Thank you so much, my wife, Christine. I love you so much. I want to thank you and thank God for the grace He gave you to persevere all the humiliations and to stand with me in the ministry. May the loving God really continue strengthening you, give you more grace, and also the same grace to come upon our daughter, Peace and Naraya. Thank you so much. God bless you. Love you so much, and we shall always be together.
Asante sana. Obvious money from Western, lazima utumeko tu salamu. Please, tumaka tu salamu kwa wasasi na mapesto wa area.
Okay, thank you so much. To all my viewers, I wish to take this opportunity to pass my greetings to my spiritual dad, Bishop Samuel Weche, in Eldoret, Mama Jacqueline, Pastor Jacqueline, who is Mama Bishop in Eldoret, and my parents, my biological parents in Busia, and that is my Florentius Baraza, and my mom, Henrika Alo Baraza. God bless you so much. Thank you for your care and the love you gave me as your son. God bless you so much. I love you. May God add you more years to see the blessings of God.
Asante sana. Viewers, we are coming to the end of our program today. Remember, everyone has a story behind his life. Pastor Chris has told us about his story, and most of the touching part of his marriage life when they failed to have a child, but eventually God blessed them. Remember, these things normally happen in our lives, but we have to move on. We have to pursue on because God is on our side. Keep it Riverside TV. This is where we bring the real life issues about you. Talk to us on 0114131600. Our email is riversidetvk@gmail.com. Social media platforms are Riverside TV Kenya, that is Instagram and Facebook. If you have a story and you'd like to share to us or to share with us, kindly call those numbers appearing on your screen and we shall get back to you. I was your host, Samson Boit. See you on Monday, 7:30 p.m. Bye-bye.